Welcome to Commerce Media Matters, your go-to podcast for unpacking the world of commerce media. Here, we catch up with industry leaders on news, research, insights, perspectives, and everything in between.
Hi, I'm Paul, Chief Growth Officer at Voodoo.
And I'm Nick, Founder and CEO at Voodoo.
Today, we're joined with someone who's spent more than 25 years asking one simple question of marketers. If it isn't delivering commercial outcomes, why are we doing it? Now, that's an opener, and I'm so excited to have Alex Lawson here on our pod.
Me too. Alex has built a career at the intersection of media, retail, and commerce, leading commercial strategy and growth initiatives across agencies, brands, publishers, and retailers. He's become a well-known voice in the industry through his practical, commercially grounded perspective on retail media, media strategy, and the evolving commerce landscape, always challenging businesses to focus less on activity and more on outcomes.
Yep, following his time shaping market media at the Warehouse Group, Alex recently launched the Media Practice, where he now advises brands, retailers, and agencies on retail media strategy, commercial marketing, media effectiveness, and growth. So Alex, welcome to Commerce Media Matters.
Thanks, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Great to have you. Long time coming, so we're really excited to have such a legend on the podcast.
And a fellow Kiwi at that.
Of course. Another one. God help me.
Although I'm an imported Kiwi, but I have been here 20 years and I have had my passport for 15. So
the real question is, which rugby team do you support?
Oh, that is very difficult. It's difficult to let go of the motherland, isn't it? So,
yeah.
Well, yeah. Anyway.
No, same for you, Paul. It'd be hard to get rid of the motherland.
Well, they're easy to support, the All Blacks.
Yeah, exactly. Alex, you've had a unique opportunity to see this industry from agency, publisher, and retailer perspectives. Looking back over the last, say, 5 years, what do you think people still misunderstand most about where retail media is today?
I mean, you got to remember also that retail media is still super nascent, right? In this region of ANZ, and I think when we're talking today, let's think about it as a ANZ first kind of conversation, globally after that. But it's still super nascent. You're still growing. You've still got a plethora of those kind of misunderstandings, I reckon, that are out there. I think there are kind of three main ones from an endemic and a non-endemic perspective. And in the endemic world, I think there are two. I think that first one, you still got people who believe that retail media is just the shifting of trade dollars from rebates to media. And you're just moving money around inside the company that you would have had. And that for me, there's an element of truth for it, but also the bigger part is it's the benefit that money has after the spending of it within the retail media side that is the key. And it kind of goes back to me for that whole, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. You teach him how to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. And it's the same with retail media. I remember having a conversation with one buyer one time where we were trying to say to them, look, if you let us invest this supplier money, this is what we'll do with it, process it at this high margin. And they were, we said, we get like 95% margin or whatever it was. And they were like, oh, but I can get 100% if I just drop it to GP. And we were like, yeah, that's cool, but then that's dead money. And instead, if you transact it this way, it might be at a slightly lower margin than just dropping it to your gross profit and doing great stuff for your bonus. But then you've got your incremental sales that happen over here. So instead of 100, it becomes 110 or whatever it is, the math on that, how that goes. So I think that's still really there. The second one in an endemic world is that, if you go back to the kind of structural perception problems that still occur inside organizations, and you still have that kind of buyer power in that sense, and you kind of got to get around that and move that through to becoming how you generate that additional revenue off the back of it. People would say, like, as a non-endemic brand, they go, yeah, we really want the audience. We really like the fact that it's sort of captive and it's a valuable audience and you might have a lot of breadth, but we just don't want to be in the retail environment. And you're like, why? Yeah. I understand if you're selling a Cartier watch for 15 grand, you might not want to go into the warehouse, right? There's a certain amount of environmental stuff. But if I'm selling Ford Rangers or if I'm selling
Absolutely.
insurance or a bank account or whatever, why do I not want to be in there from an
100%.
environmental perspective? And
take Hammer Time in Australia with the Ford Ranger. You got the perfect fit there, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Exactly. And I think you bring it all the way back to something that we were taught. I mean, we've been whapping on about it for decades in the media industry, is around trust, right?
Yeah.
A trusted brand and a trusted environment has so much more power within consumer journeys. We trust. Whether it's it used to be your newspaper, right? But now it's your, wherever you're getting your news source from, whether that's your YouTube guy or BBC or ABC or whoever it is. So that element. And then retailers are inherently trusted. I mean, it's a trusted environment. You're safe, whether it's in the physical environment. You're happy to take a credit card out, wander around. You're happy to shop there. You don't feel like you're about to get mugged or anything like that. But you also trust that they're bringing the right products to you and that they're experts in those products if you're in that type of store. So
post-sale support, returns, all that sort of stuff. You feel comfortable.
So retailers have this incredible trusted environment, which a brand should feel, incredibly safe to be in as well, right? And that always kind of got me as a weird thing for why, when you've got an audience that's sitting there with a commercial mindset already engaged because they're shopping already. You're not trying to interrupt them doom scrolling or like watching something on YouTube or their TV show or on their commute. They're literally there going, I'm ready to buy stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm ready to absorb those messages right now. Why as a brand would you not want?
Yeah, 100% intent, right? Just absolute intent.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's a great environment and space to have comparable kind of brands, being sold in at the same time or presented.
Exactly. So for me, I was always a bit like, endemically, it's about showing how the misconception of you're just moving that money around and the money actually, if you transact in a different way, not only are you bringing the value of the media there because you're selling the media back to the supplier, but you're also selling results, which is good for everybody. And from a non-endemic perspective, it's this whole retail media is just for retail brands. You're like, no, it's not. It's really, really past that. And I wish more people would lean into the non-endemic side of it because I think it's possibly even more powerful than the supplier side.
I agree with you. I always get super excited by the relationship between the non-endemic, they say the endemic brands sitting inside the environment and what the non-endemic brands can bring and vice versa. That's one of the most exciting parts for me, retail media. I think it's really, I don't get excited by a lot, but that kind of gets me going. Coming back to your point in regards to there's a cohort of professionals in this industry that still believe, well, it's just trade dollars. We're just kind of moving it across there. And you've spoken about, the media spend and investment. Investment in this space can be lots of things, right? It can be the investment in the technology that supports it, the structure. How does that narrative of it's just trade dollars, is that at a certain level of the business? Is that something happening just, it's an old merchant sitting on the boardroom table who goes, it's just this? Or is it uneducated, maybe new players coming in? And does it impact, that narrative have an impact on investment still?
I think it's going to vary greatly from business to business, right? And you're going to, and depending on who you talk to, I was really lucky in the fact that at the Warehouse Group, there were a number of people on our board at the time who either came from a media background, including like at the time our chair, Joan Withers.
That's handy.
We had representatives from Google on the board. We had like people who kind of got it. And that made it a lot easier to make that case and to go in and go, look, this is how it works. Because the other thing you got to remember is that a lot of time, a retail media operation and a retailer operate at 180 degrees viewpoint of each other. A retailer is about, I buy product and I sell product and I am the power and I own the power over the supplier. And if they want their products to be sold, they have to, come to me.
Yeah.
Retail media is the exact other way in that you're going back to the supplier going, I would like you to spend more money with me. I'm going to be really friendly to you. And you can see that dichotomy coming. And, even back to simple things like when you say, investment, retailers in general, don't want to invest.
Because it's a scale game. Yeah.
They're about maximum profitability, et cetera, et cetera. So they're trying to do the most with the least. A retail media, you come in and go, I want you to invest, I'm going to pay it back in this kind of time frame. And the payback, I think where you get people is that payback time frame could be a lot quicker in a retail media than it is in, say, you know, investing in changing all your floors in your store network, which might cost you 20 mil. But you take that same 20 million and invest it in retail media, and you can get a payback in 3-4 years, etc. That kind of stuff. So that becomes powerful. But I just think it varies. We had, you know, when we were doing it, we had exactly that, where some people were like, you just want to move trade dollars around. I feel that normally comes from a merchandiser kind of buyer level. That's where you just need a lot of the conversation and a lot of the educational piece and the explanation of, hey, look, yes, you might be transacting some of that over here and that might be different for you, but here's what happens after the transaction, and that's why it's valuable, and that's how you unlock that.
Here's the incrementality of it.
Yeah. And that's the key bit. And I think that's what a lot of, you know, when you kind of start getting into retail media, the CFO and CEO get excited about media dollars, and you know they should. You know, there is a good thing about that. But to a buyer, I mean, a buyer doesn't care about media dollars because a lot of the time you're talking about moving it out of their department and off their line. So then you're really going, well, how does it benefit that person in the organization?
Yeah.
So like, not only did we have to get the board and the execs of the various brands on board and all that kind of stuff to really get our traction, but you have to then go down and you go, well, what does retail media mean for a buyer? What does retail media mean for a store manager who's sitting in a regional store going, this guy wants to come in and he wants to disrupt my floor by putting screens in, and now I've got to like worry about how do I get that palette around that screen that's sitting in the middle of the thing, and you know, why have they put it there and all that kind of thing. And they're like, I don't understand it. And a lot of the time we would go into stores and you talk to the store managers and they go, I really don't understand this. And you say, well, here's the benefit back. Your store is now more profitable. You're selling more stuff, and the media dollars are going up into the top of the company, which make the company more stable. And then you've got more chance of getting more staff and more
impacts all of retail, right?
Yeah.
That's a nice segue, Alex. One thing you've constantly challenged is the idea that retail media is like purely a digital opportunity. So let's talk about the store. You've written extensively around why physical retail remains one of the industry's most appreciated channels. In a world increasingly focused on digital experiences, why do you think the store still matters so much?
Oh, because it's where we do most of our shopping. I mean, you know, if you strip it right back to that consumer,
you just look at the numbers.
Yeah, look at the numbers. I mean, I think, and you know, obviously there are always exceptions, and there are people that will say, "Oh, we do more than this," but blah. But if you've got a business in ANZ that has an e-commerce and a physical bricks and mortar, and you're established, if you're doing 25% e-commerce, you're doing a lot of e-commerce. A lot of those organizations will be in single digits of e-commerce, and therefore you're doing 90% of your stuff in store. And so, and if you think about your own things, like, have you bought a TV online without going to see it? Have you bought?
My answer is yes, but might not be everybody.
You are probably in the minority.
He's always in the minority.
But, you know, there are products that you go, I might research the hell out of it online.
But I still want to see it.
I'm not buying it until I've seen it in the flesh. And because sometimes you turn up and you're like, oh, it doesn't look like I thought it would, or it's not as big, or I've tried it on now and it's not as comfortable.
Or it turns up and it's not what you thought it was, and you go, next time I'm going to go in store. I'll remind myself, I'm going to go and look at it. I always trust this.
And I think we're in a region, like if you look at both Australia and New Zealand, like our infrastructure isn't set up easily for the fast delivery, the fast turnaround that you might have in a large city in the US or Europe or the UK or whatever. So that whole model, like, I mean, Australia is so coastal, right? I mean, 80% of people live within an hour of the coast or something in Australia, something like that. So just the logistics behind, if I'm living in Newcastle and I buy something from a store in Sydney and it gets delivered and it's not right and I need to return it within a 30-day period, suddenly I'm just like, oh, that's a massive pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the store is your place, right? And we know that the store is still super powerful, and there's still a reason why online retailers are becoming bricks and mortar. That's their natural evolution in this market.
Because I think it's interesting that you don't have to necessarily get the purchase online, and I think it's about how you get all your channels to work together. There's a great case study at NRF from New York with Dick's Sporting Goods around them understanding the role of each channel. They're still a huge bricks and mortar store, and it's still, like as you said, the largest part of their business. But they understand that the consumer wants to have a digital experience with them. That doesn't necessarily mean purchase online. It sometimes does, but I think the guys that are doing it well are the ones that are starting to learn that and work out what the role of each channel plays. Is there anyone across APAC that you think's doing that well?
Look, I think you find that there's that kind of experience happening in the world of things like consumer electronics. As a high research category,
Yeah, right.
So you're getting a lot of information there, but there's still a huge value of going into the store and actually having those conversations with the store people. And I think what we often forget is how knowledgeable those guys actually are that are on the shop floor and actually dealing with customers. And I'll give you an example, which isn't in consumer electronics, but I've done that standard late 40s thing of deciding I'm going to start running again, right? So last 2 years, do a lot of running and entering marathons and ultras and all that kind of rubbish.
That's a whole different podcast for you and me to talk about. Is it a few medals behind here? Anyway, yeah, we won't go there. Yeah.
So yeah, I buy a lot of running shoes now, right?
Yeah.
I love buying running shoes. I just love buying stuff.
Yeah.
So you research them, you watch YouTube videos about every reviewer under the sun doing it. You kind of get a thing. And so recently I was trying to buy a marathon shoe. So I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure this is a shoe I want.
One of the ultra fast, the carbons.
Oh, I'm not ultra fast, so they're wasted on me. but so I had my list and I was like, right, I'm pretty sure this is the one I'm going to buy.
Yeah.
I go to my shoe store, who I trust, because I know that they're really good. I know that I've been in before. They fitted me. They take their time, all that kind of stuff. I go and I go, I'm going to buy these shoes. And they're like, well, let's try these 4 others.
Yeah.
Did I walk out with the ones that I thought I was going to walk out with? No. Have I bought shoes online? Yep. I've done that too. Have I got it wrong online? Yep. Did I return them? No, because I couldn't be bothered. I just kept them and wore them every now and again. But so I think there's that inherent value still within the store, though, the expertise, seeing the product.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, that same circumstance had I was brand loyal to a particular brand, obsessed with going in store to get that pair. Same thing. Yeah. The running shop said, try these other ones on. I switched brands altogether. The difference now, though, is I know the ones I like, because I frequently buy them. I'll buy those online now for convenience. So for me, there's no one silver bullet. And I think back to your point around consumer electronics, and I mentioned that I bought a TV online, but I didn't explain that I went into JB Hi-Fi first as part of my research before I decided to take the convenience option. And I actually had a chat before, and I did my online research, and I used that as part of my research thing. But I decided that it was easier and most convenient for me to have it delivered and therefore buy it online.
I mean, I think the other thing about if we go back to the whole why is in store been an ANZ thing as well, right? So outside of all of that, it just works. So we had a great opportunity when we were establishing the warehouse group network. We had a period where when we were installing the screens, we had a natural test scenario because we had light and dark stores. So we had stores with screens in phase 1, and we had other stores in the same regions that hadn't had their screens installed. We're running content on the screens, right? So we're running ads, we're running proper stuff. So we're able to do some really, hokey, sticky finger in the air, but back of the fag packet maths, right? Where we're able to go, we've run this ad for this client on these screens, and we know what else is being run for that particular ad or that promotion. And we were seeing 27, 28% uplifts in the stores that had screens in them for those products.
That's massive.
Versus the dark stores. So you can inherently say, this stuff works. There's a reason why you buy out of home. There's a reason why you buy screens. And
it enhances the experience of the consumer as well, doesn't it?
Well, and you're at the last point of contact before somebody makes their decision. It's the last opportunity.
It's also it's contained intention too, right? Like we've got you here. You're not getting too influenced by being, something scrolling or something else happening on screen. You've kind of captured their attention in that moment, in that your biggest play, which is your whole store, right? It's the environment where you're at. Quite powerful.
And it's back to that point you made before, Alex, the mindset that you're in when you're in the store. They're obviously receptive to messages because they're in that mode. I'm here to shop. I'm interested. I'm open-minded for looking at opportunities.
Paul and I had some very nascent, I'll use your word again, Alex, we had some very nascent conversations with a large global car manufacturer at the start of the year in regards to their own footprints with their dealerships. And one of the things they said was, when you come in here, you have intent. You've come here to purchase this vehicle because you want it to do this, this, and this. And they were starting to think in the whole commerce media space to go, well, maybe we should be using more of the dealership floor, not to just put cars on, but to actually look at from a non-endemic brand for cars. How do we actually bring more into this because of the intent that you're standing there inside the environment? It's just like it works across multiple industries, right?
Yeah. I mean, it does work across industries. I think the only thing you have to be aware of in that kind of example is your audience size is different, but your audience motivations are different. And the value of that audience, it might be smaller, but it may have more value than if you're in like general retail where people, you might have that high traffic, but lower or conversion. Whereas, like you say, when somebody comes onto a forecourt, because nobody goes onto a forecourt just because they're like, I was just passing, thought I'd have a look. They're going, because I need a car or I'm looking for a car. Because you know that when you go on a forecourt, somebody's going to come up to you and they're going to try and sell you a car, right? So unless you want that experience.
You enter at own risk.
You know what's about to happen, right? You don't wander in going, I was just walking down the road, I thought I'd have a look. I think that's probably one of the next challenges we have is, how do you value an audience when it's a smaller audience, but it has more intent or it has more potential for conversion versus the reach. It's almost like back to the, traditional media versus performance media, new media, whatever you want to call it, hyper targeted versus reach, all that kind of stuff.
And also the point you made before, that environment play. I mean, if you're, selling Louis Vuitton handbags, there's a premium audience play that you pay a higher premium to access those sorts of audiences at probably lesser scale, but still at scale,
Alex, there's been a lot of maturity and growth in different markets and different sectors we've talked about, and we've touched on non-endemic brands before, but I just want to kind of move things forward a bit. Let's kind of park the retail media networks that are maybe coming up to speed or maybe a little bit behind in different markets. Like we spoke with, India needs to mature a bit more, but we know retail media in the US is very mature, mostly mature. Where to next? And I touched on it at the start. Like, I think the non-endemic play for me is what really excites me. I kind of love that space and what can be done there. And we're seeing some incredible kind of tie-ups like United Airlines and Marriott Bonvoy and stuff. Given all your experience and you've been really kind of a legend in this space, where are you seeing this going? Like, what's the future? Like, can we kind of touch more into the commerce media side of things? What do you see coming down the line?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the next stage of being in that kind of commerce space. And what I'd think of is kind of non-traditional retail areas like car sales, that kind of stuff, all those kind of things, who you could argue have a retail presence, but they're not a store, right? You're not going there to do shopping. I think just winding up that retail bit, I think there's actually a massive opportunity for that next level down of retailers who maybe can't or wouldn't invest to have their own operations, and there's a play there. Like if you think of combining forces and how do you make attractive stuff, but let's part that. But back in that commerce media space, I think that's just the next ripe thing. And I think you mentioned airlines. I'm a massive believer that airlines are the next huge one to fall, because if you just think about their whole experience is based around,
couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree. You're spot on.
It's all in the same ecosystem.
There's loyalty data. There's
loyalty. You have brand alliance with like your national carrier. Maybe you may be in a lounge if you've got enough points. In which case you're inherently more valuable again because we can hit you in different places. You might have you've got the journey itself, but you've also got a subset of they're not quite suppliers, but they're what I think of as semi-non-endemic advertisers, right? Which are associated with the category that make an easy consumer experience. Like if I'm booking a flight, then great. I don't mind getting hotels, car hire, travel insurance, travel products.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I may need it. And if not, I just go, okay, I don't need any of that. That's way less jarring than somebody going, oh, you've just booked this flight with Air New Zealand. Would you also like to buy a car? I'm like, well, no. No. Like, but if you go, have you got travel insurance? Here are our partners. Here's the stuff that goes with it.
There's the pre-travel, mid-travel. There's just so much. We had a long conversation with Marriott fortunately in Cannes about this, and it's just so exciting. It's such an exciting space. Due to all the travel I do, I sometimes get to travel at the front end of the plane, and I just want to kind of talk about an experience from that, flying on Qatar and flying on Qantas, and I think Qantas is missing a big trick with an in-play. So Qatar provide these pajamas, right? And I got these pajamas, fortunately, and it has a full F1 tie-up, and it's got F1 branded on these. So I bring them home. They're kind of, going to washing. My son picks it up, and he's like, "Oh, this is F1. Oh, can I have these? Can I wear these?" And there's, some Qantas ones, not interested. So there's Formula One getting into my house through an airline's branded pajamas, where my son's now wearing these all the time. And the impact is, what's going on with F1? Can I buy F1 Lego? And Qantas isn't in the conversation. And this is grassroots marketing getting through to a child.
It's interesting you brought up F1, Nick, because as well as it was interesting to see in Cannes that they had the brands like that were front. So F1 was front and center. Took with Cafe Roma, where they were right there because they understand the power of their brand and how they can tie up with others.
And to your point, Alex, there's a massive commerce media play with an incredibly huge global brand, right?
Yeah, 100%. Some of the stuff I love about the airlines, yes, there's the thing like seatback TV and personalizing ads. And I recently spent a long time on China Southern flying back to the UK and back. I saw the same ad that they have on their reel maybe 10 times.
Yep.
I would have loved a range of ads before each bit of content. Tell you that, especially ones that are dedicated to me, knowing what they know about me from my booking or whatever coming in via the in-plane Wi-Fi. But the other thing, I actually booked myself. I had a long layover in Guangzhou, so I booked myself into their lounge. And the lounges are great for a little while, and then they're deathly boring places, right? But you think about what the kind of experiences and little things that a brand can offer a long-haul traveler. And I know there's been an example, I think, within the Emirates lounges and Moet and Chandon, where they were doing, champagne tasting within the lounge. So it's just, if you're in that lounge, and even if you're on a normal travel sense, you're probably in there for an hour and a half, as a business traveler.
Yeah.
Having a little 5 minutes of going, oh yeah, I'll try the champagne and listen to a bit about it, and just breaks up that journey.
It's a little bit of dead time, downtime too. It's when you're going to be, okay, well, there's something interesting to look at over there. Normally I wouldn't have time for this, but
they've got those brand synergies, right? Like the F1 and Qatar business class, right? They're not trying to force that together. They're not going, oh, this is like, this mishmash of stuff that doesn't work, but they've paid for it, so why not? Like,
yeah, exactly. No, it works.
And airlines are so good with their if they're a good airline, they're so good with their customer experience that they inherently understand what should work and what won't work. So Moet, Chandon, and Emirates, that works. F1 and Qatar, that works.
Just quickly, if we bring this back down to say, everyday high traffic consumers, those second and third tiers. What is the next kind of phase for commerce media in those areas? What else are you seeing are you seeing any kind of area there as a growth opportunity?
Look, the other part that naturally everybody goes to is that they sit on a large amount of first party data, and that has value.
AKA Maya, what we've seen launch there, right?
Yeah.
Shopper data, yeah.
And, has anybody really maximized the commercial potential of that yet? Probably not.
No.
Is that the next big thing to fall? Yes. I think what happens certainly in an ANZ market is, you have to think about the economies of scale and what, when you reach saturation point of first party, and when it loses that value and when it has that value. I think that's an interesting area. I think anyone who deals with like loyalty card and partners have got a massive untapped opportunity. If you think, we mentioned people like, Bunnings before. You think about that hardware industry, and if you are a loyalty member of there, then you're also within this card network, whether that would be, in New Zealand could be an AirPoints card network. It could be, used to be the whatever the loyalty thing was that we used to have over here, still in Australia. But you've got that kind of thing where it's not massively just about the audience that you have in your store. It's of the supplier network and the audience, and how are you kind of doing cross collaboration projects there to maximize two sets of revenues. But the data part, I think, for most commerce brands is going to be what they're really buying into, and especially if you're in finance, travel, that have that richness around it that we might not be able to get.
And then hopefully we'll see them activate that in third-party environments too. And then the retail media guys will start seeing true incrementality and jumping on the media briefs and the brand briefs that are coming out of agencies for that. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to that non-endemic play, right? Which is the trick with the gold of retail media with an endemic brand is that you can connect it directly to a sale. Non-endemic, you're kind of just another media channel because you can't directly attribute that activity to that sale unless the brand or the agency is doing that and they're willing to share those results with you. So finding any way that you can get that kind of proof point for a non-endemic brand is really gold. And I think there's some really cool stuff that's coming in for that, right? If you look at how AI is starting to shape it, or some of the ways of measurement platforms that are coming in that are really starting to change that whole game there, I think that's where there are going to be a lot of retail and commerce media people leaning heavily into those kind of things.
You touched on this briefly, not the big retailers. You said the sort of the second tiers, but just to unpack that a little bit more, do you see some room for the specialist retailers coming in here? I mean, the guys that are, you mentioned automotive before. Do you see any specialist retailers really getting in on the game here and doing it well?
I think there's the opportunity for it, but I think it requires, you'd have to look at it case by case. And it depends on each individual business, what the potential of their return is going to be on their investment. Are they willing to make the investment, or do they want to go into more of a sort of like DSP kind of JV kind of operation, right? And you see it in a number of places. So over here we have a company called Hyper, who started to push into Australia as well. And they play very much in the in-store screen space, and they work a network of in-store screens across multiple retailers and then monetize that network and clip that ticket back to the retailers. And that's a really interesting model once you reach a certain level of scale and a level of inventory to then think about within the digital space.
Do you think we'll see more of that? I mean, people talk about consolidation, and I think, I'm not sure we're going to see consolidation with retailers, like, to a huge degree. But that partnership and that model of, networks of things, do you think we're going to see a lot more of that across the globe now that there is some maturity in certain regions?
I think we will, but it won't be at that top level.
Yeah.
So it's not like the States where, your platforms like PackView and Sky are there, but they're there to satisfy a need, not of the retailers, but of the buyers, like the brand buyers. Because if you're in the States and you're an FMCG, whether you're a trade manager of a product or whatever, and you're stocked in Walmart, Kroger, Albertsons, Safeway, all across thing, and you need to execute, and each one of those is going, there's 10 retail media platforms, and you're like, God, I can't do 10 retail media platforms.
How do I manage this fragmentation? I've already got social and all the other channels to worry about,
So they've come in to solve that problem, right? To go, hey, we'll bring all of this inventory into one place and do that. Because of the size of their market and the scale of those, they can do that at that kind of grocery level. I don't think we won't get that here because you've got Coles and Woolies in Aussie, and you've got Woolies and precision or / foodies here, there's only 2 to manage, right? You can manage that. So I don't think that's necessarily a thing. But if you then go down from there and you're saying, where's that solution that offers multiple categories, like so I can decide whether I'm ancillary to this category, or this category, and gives me those environments, and at the same time opens up retail media or commerce media for brands that don't necessarily want to put 100, 200, $500,000, $1 million into setting their own stuff up, and want it to be nice and easy, and don't want to have an in-house team, and don't want to have to redo their tech stack to make sure this works, and are happy for somebody just to API a platform in there and then provide that inventory back. I think that's where that's going to start coming through, and it's going to open up retail media as a non-store specific option, and the ability for people to go, I'm chasing the audience. Either I'm chasing the audience and these retailers are happy to have a true non-endemic experience, or I am actually able to manage my brand or my retailer specific trade buys better through a conglomerated platform.
It's come to that point in the show, Alex. It's not a conversation in 2026 without, going deep with the AI question. So you've taken a very pragmatic kind of stance on this, or view with AI, which I love, by the way, because I'm not a believer of technology for technology's sake, and I think that's happening quite a lot at the moment with this new technology. So we'd love to get your take on it. Beyond the headlines, what do you think the impact really will be from AI in regards to these commerce media networks and these nascent ones, but all these really mature ones as well, the kind of different relationship? What do you think the impact will be?
Maybe we can make a rule. Let's park agentic AI. We're all just going to entrust our credit card to Gemini and it's going to go off and buy me whatever I need because it knows me. Let's sort of park that off to the side there.
Yeah.
And there's some people doing some really good stuff around, how to make your listings AI friendly and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I think there are 2 things that certainly have the most potential value and payback within the retail media world quickly with AI. One of those is optimization. And the other one is measurement. So on their own, they're kind of boring, right? Because optimization and measurement, you're like, yeah, okay, we've been doing that for ages. But optimization is already kind of happening at scale. And I think there's a lot of stuff that's actually happening within retailers that people don't see and don't realize how advanced some of these retail groups are with AI and that kind of stuff. My example in optimization, if I look at a platform like Particular Audience, which is, if you're not familiar with them, is a guy called James Taylor, fantastic product, amazing guy. I don't know how his brain works, but it works differently to everybody else's, I think. I can't even fathom how his life operates, the amount of time that man spends on planes.
The guy likes to travel. Yeah, absolutely he does. Yeah.
But you look at that and how they're completely taking what used to be a very manually siloed experience of whether it's search results or a homepage of a retail e-commerce site, and you might have had your product grid, and that positions 1, 3, 4 are the native organic ones. You're not allowed to touch those commercially, but you can have positions 2 and 7 and 9 and whatever, and you had to stay within that grid. So everything you were doing was then just putting commercial solutions into that grid. And what he's done is gone, well, just get AI to basically make a fresh page every time a new user,
based on their behaviors and data points. And yeah,
based on the user.
Yeah.
So if that's an organic product, then great. If that's a sponsored product, then great.
Yep.
But make the most profitable page, both from an advertising perspective and a potential sale perspective, and make that page different every single time. That's not something that can be done in a pre-programmed or anything. That's an AI kind of use case.
Well, I mean, retailers, they don't have a shortage of data.
No.
But, actioning the large amounts of data is what AI was built for, right? I think Conor McKenna was actually calling this next phase, I think that you're saying a similar thing, is that he was calling it AI decisioning. He says exactly that. It's using it it's not for AI's sake, but for crunching the numbers to help make those informed decisions.
Yeah. I with it 100%. And then the other part for me is measurement, right? And I look at some local platforms out of Australia. I love the guys from Profit, and I love the guys from Henry from Mutinex and what they're doing. And I just think they're using AI to turn MMM on its head. And MMM has been a great potential use for marketing, retailers, whatever brands for a number of years now. But the kickback with MMM has always been it's really expensive and it's slow. You can do it. It's very look back, and it's very much like you'll do your dip and then you'll get your results in a lovely presentation 6 weeks later when your campaign's finished and you're like, well, okay, great. I guess we'll take this into next year. And I've just paid you whatever, 300 grand to do it. Right. And so it's really good it's very detailed, gives you some great information, but it's very then like future focused in terms of that might be useful in 12 months time. And who knows what's happened in 12 months, right? Who knows, especially the speed that we're moving right now. What the likes of, your Profits and your Mutinexes and people are doing is they're going, cool, let's do all of that, but let's do it in real time.
And that's what's so exciting about these technologies and what's happening right now, powered by AI. Great use of it.
And you couldn't do that without AI, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No way.
And have it in a way that the brand or the retailer is able to go, cool, show me this. Okay, now show me that. Now show me that. Now show me that. And I'm going to make a decision that now I've changed my media buy, or I've changed my strategy or my targeting approach based off what I've just seen here today, and it's now effective either this afternoon or tomorrow or whatever. And tomorrow I might change it again because something may have changed. But those two areas, they're just like the low-hanging fruit for me. Right?
And the two areas are kind of circular too. The better that you can record the effectiveness and measure the outcomes, the more you can pipe back into the optimization, like MMM into particular audiences capability, and on the fly, you couldn't do that stuff before. It would have taken a whole heap of analysts to crunch it, and a workflow to get it up and running. And like you said, it'd be post the campaign that you were getting these insights.
Yeah, I mean, it's just scary how fast you can do stuff and how much less. I hate to say like how much less expertise you need, but you don't need to be a coder to code a platform anymore. You can literally go to something like Lovable and go in real words, like, I want this, a dashboard that does that and sucks this in, and it goes, yeah, cool, I can do that.
Side note, and I promised I wouldn't talk about it, but have you plugged your Strava into Claude yet?
Oh, I have not actually.
You need to do it. They've got an MCP server, and it's
Alex,
really interesting stuff.
You're falling behind.
Yeah, talking about measurement and insights. If you're a keen or runner, it's interesting stuff.
I'm so old school in that I was downloading CSV files of runs and uploading them into Claude and going, can you analyze these 3 runs and tell me where I can improve?
Alex, your Strava.
There you go.
Link your Strava.
But it's a microcosm of what you're talking about. It's pretty amazing as you see it with something you're interested in, like running. You can just see the opportunities. I mean, you said it before, you're just alluding to it before. I still think there's an element of experience, and yes, you don't need to be the coder anymore. But the thing is that if you've got that commercial sense, it's still a tool. It still needs to be directed. So some of those commercial people out there, I wouldn't be fearing for your jobs completely yet. But yeah, it's really cool stuff, and it's all the promise of all that data that has been sitting in retail media networks actually being able to be used on the fly in real time is that decisioning piece that kind of you're both talking about. We couldn't agree more,
Alex. This has been an incredible conversation. We knew it would be. As I said, you're a legend in this space, and we've really enjoyed it. We're coming to a close here.
I think you overused the word legend there. And
no, it's true. It's true. And we reached out to each other and we're kind of circling, and I'm glad we make this happen because it's been a great conversation. We really appreciate you sharing your perspectives on and giving us a glimpse into where you see things are going. Look, we want to just do a little quick fire finish here. So we've got a whole bunch of questions. We're going to come at you fast. We want a fast answer. First up, what is the last thing you bought online?
This MacBook Air that I'm talking to you on.
Oh, great. Okay. And so you made the purchase because you're familiar with the product and you're comfortable, like Paul is with his running shoes. There you go. What podcast are you currently listening to?
Well, literally the one I was listening to when I was driving home today was the Runner's World podcast.
Yes, get in.
You're obsessed. You're obsessed. Great. What's your go-to online shop?
Sport Fuel, which I buy all my supplements from.
I was going to say, there's another running shout out. Yep.
Great. Shout out there. There you go. Do you TikTok? Are you a watcher or a poster or both? Or
I am not a TikToker.
Yep.
My kids are, and I think they're very happy that I'm not. I'm a little bit more old school in my social media habits.
Have you ever bought anything on social media?
No. Oh, no. Yes. Hold on. Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
I'm going to say yes.
Now, this is always gets people because, I think sometimes we're so kind of in our space, we forget we are in the world of advertising, right? And advertising has a story, creativity, and advertising has a story career of creativity. Thinking back, what's your most memorable ad campaign?
Okay, let's make my wife happy with this one because this is one she worked on. There is a beer brand over here called DB Export. And they brought out a campaign with Vanilla Ice, who, if you are of a certain age, Vanilla Ice was a massive part of the 90s, so a massive part of my childhood.
Paul takes his styling cues. Yep.
The hair's not quite as high as his, but yeah.
And they did a campaign with Vanilla Ice about reminding you. So if you put your beer in the freezer to chill it quickly in summer, obviously the big problem is normally you have a couple of beers and then you forget that you put the beers in the fridge.
Yeah, exactly.
So they set up a hotline where Vanilla Ice would call you after like a certain amount of time and go, "Hey, it's Vanilla Ice. You need to take your beer out of the freezer."
That is awesome.
And that's just done incredibly well around the world at Cannes. And
out of the ice, baby.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Tapped into a cultural phenomenon. I think that's good. Creative always does that well, doesn't it?
I know. That's a fantastic campaign. I wasn't aware of it as well. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being on the show today.
Pleasure.
Alex, such an awesome session. Thank you. It's good to have a fellow Kiwi on.
Even a transplanted one, but I do identify as a Kiwi. I fly on my Kiwi passport wherever I can. So thank you very much, guys.
Love to have you again. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you for listening to the Commerce Media Matters podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow and subscribe. We're always on the pulse of the ever-changing landscape of commerce media, ready to share the newest trends, insightful perspectives, and expert opinions with you. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep making media that matters. This podcast is executively produced and edited by Priya Tahazadeh, with co-producers Sandy Ho and me, Rachel Fang. This podcast is recorded on the lands of the Bidjigal, Gadigal, and Wurundjeri people, and we wish to acknowledge them as the traditional owners of the land.